Hey guys, so this was a big week for politics. Of course, there was the debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. If you want to dive in more on the reactions to the debate performances, we've got a new episode of The Campaign Moment coming out today. And that episode, it's only going to be available on our separate podcast, The Campaign Moment. So go into your podcast app, find The Campaign Moment, and get that episode queued up for your weekend listening. In the meantime, here on Post Reports, we've got something different today. A show about affirmations. And it comes to us from another Washington Post podcast called Try This. Try This is a series of audio courses. It's hosted by my colleague, Christina Quinn. And let me tell you, as someone who gets to work with Christina, she is delightful. She is hilarious. She is someone that you want to spend time with. Christina loves life hacks. And she loves helping people learn how to improve their lives. And that brings us back to affirmations, the subject of the latest Try This course. Affirmations are the I am statements that you're supposed to say to yourself in moments of stress or self-doubt. And Christina has a whole new framing on why affirmations work and how to make them work for you. So, after a busy news week, it felt like this would be a nice way to end the week. We're going to play you the first part of that course today. And after you listen, be sure to follow Try This in your podcast app. Okay, here we go.
Hey, welcome to Try This from the Washington Post. Try This is a series of audio courses to help you take on common challenges and learn something new without having to make a big time commitment. I'm Christina Quinn. I'm a journalist at the Post, and I'll be learning with you. Because I, too, love a solid affirming reminder that I'm smart and I'm strong. Affirm the affirms. If you're new to Try This, here's how this will work. Each Try This course has anywhere from 2 to 5 classes, which is just a fancy way of saying 2 to 5 episodes. In this course, we'll have 2 classes diving into the world of affirmations. First, we'll figure out exactly how these phrases or beliefs can work, and even lower stress. And in the next class, we'll dig into how you can tell whether affirmations are working and more tips for success. Okay, class is in session. Let's try this.
An affirmation is a statement of positive self-reflection that highlights a valued aspect of who we are, or in most cases, who we perceive ourselves to be.
And that's Natalie Datillo-Ryan, a clinical psychologist outside of Boston. She does a lot of affirmation work with her clients and teaches psychology at Harvard Medical School. So I wanted her to teach me and you what it means to use a self-affirmation that can actually be helpful.
They could sound declarative, like I am capable, I am loving, I am deserving of joy. They could also be aspirational in the sense that I want to be the type of person who feels capable, or I want to be the type of person who receives love well.
The idea of using affirmations as a psychological tool emerged from a theory established in the 80s at Stanford University, that people want to view themselves as morally good and competent. When these views are threatened, like when you receive criticism or get a bad grade, affirming things you value can shore up your confidence.
We are motivated to protect our sense of self, our sense of self-worth at this sort of very basic level. It's a way to deal with the day-to-day, or in particular stressful situations, in a way that's less reactive. You're not swayed so much in one direction or the other. You're not too hot or too cold. In fact, you may pass through situations in a much more unaffected way than if you hadn't had a strengthened system in place before.
For an affirmation to really work, it has to reflect something meaningful to you, and it doesn't have to be tailored to stressful situations. The only rule is that it must be personal.
Now, how would somebody start doing affirmations? Because I think for some people, it may be a big leap to take from like doing it in your head to saying it out loud. And do you think that there's definitely a difference? Like it makes a difference to say something out loud versus just saying it to yourself in your head?
So I think there's a couple of different ways that you could practice affirmations. I actually think what makes the biggest difference is writing them down. And the goal is to have them be believable. So just saying something about yourself that you don't actually believe doesn't work. It doesn't serve the purpose of the affirmation.
Right. Because an affirmation should essentially be supporting something you already believe, as opposed to convincing yourself of something that perhaps you're not.
Yes, that is absolutely true. It could backfire in that case.
Natalie says one helpful approach to identifying your affirmations is to write a journal entry or letter about what's important to you.
There is some calling to mind of things about you or your life that you are proud of or that you value. For a lot of people, this is their relationships. And so what you might do is spend a little bit of time journaling about what's important to you about your relationships, what you've done lately to promote those relationships, reminding yourself of how, good you are of a friend or a partner or a colleague, and, look for some specific examples to back that up.
And Natalie says the way in which you spell this out is really important.
I always recommend people write with their hand when it comes to journaling. I know opening up a Word doc and typing out this is convenient and easy, but it doesn't serve the same purpose.
Why is that?
Well, we do a lot of editing. It's easier to edit when we're typing. And we get too caught up in having it sound right or having the grammar be correct. But when we are writing, it's not as easy to go back and change what we just wrote. So you almost have to commit to it a little bit differently. And there's also something happening neurologically, like in your brain. So you're activating more centers of the brain. So your motor centers, your emotion centers, your logic centers. And a well-connected brain is a healthy brain. So the more of those centers we can connect in an activity, the better.
And if you need a little more direction, here's something else you can try.
I'll have people give me a list of 50 things about themselves, starting with the sentence stem, I am. Just fill in the blank. Some people, it's easy. Some people, that's quite the challenge. And I will not give them a whole lot of guidance around it because I think it's helpful for people to identify what it is that they will claim about yourself. Who I am. This is who I am. And start there. And this is not necessarily the aspirational I ams. This is right now, today.
Making this list can reveal a lot about your values, what's important to you.
You're not going to write it down if you're not willing to claim it. So that's an important part of the exercise. I don't tell people how to fill it in. So some people will assume that I want them to write positive things about themselves. I don't necessarily I just want them to start with who you are.
One way is to start listing your roles. I am a mother. I am a sister. I am a daughter. I am a friend.
Characteristics. I am tall. I am brunette. And then that also leads into these other ideas about yourself that you hold true. I am committed. I am dedicated. I am determined. I am persistent. You could set it up like I am a person who, I'm a person who does this. I'm a person who likes this. I'm a person who appreciates this X, Y, and Z. So you can take some liberties with that. But it's very revealing and it's a great place to start.
Identifying and writing down who you are to get to your values not only strengthens your beliefs, something else is happening when you take the time to acknowledge what really matters to you. In fact, a lot is happening inside that brain of yours when you start using affirmations. We'll find out what right after the break. Okay, psychologist Natalie Detillo-Ryan laid out what an affirmation is and how to begin to shore up what your values are. Now we're going to hear why self-affirmations can be such an important tool. The study of self-affirmations for stress management has gained a lot of momentum in the past couple of decades. And over that time, this researcher has been stressing people out all in the name of science. Or as he puts it,
I study what makes people well and, what makes people resilient under stress.
David Cresswell is a psychology and neuroscience professor at Carnegie Mellon University. He's also the director of the school's Health and Human Performance Lab, where they study stress management strategies and interventions. Cresswell and his team have conducted studies over the years that use saliva and urine samples. They've used those samples to evaluate what happens when someone uses an affirmation before doing a challenging task. Saliva and urine are used because they show levels of cortisol, a hormone that is released during stress. Here's what they found.
Just thinking about an important personal value for a couple of minutes before they went into this really difficult, stressful task changed their stress hormone responses. They had reduced cortisol responses to this task. And so it really showed that thinking about a personal value sort of inoculates you against now this really threatening situation for the self.
In 2016, Cresswell's Health and Human Performance Lab leveled up their work by peering inside the mind using brain scans.
You can imagine a big donut-shaped magnet where we sort of slide your head inside the donut hole, take 3D snapshots of your brain and the activity in your brain while you're in there.
Before sticking their noggins into these fancy scanners, participants were divided into two groups. In one group, let's call them the self-affirmation group, participants ranked 5 personal values: art, religion, science, social issues, politics, in order of importance. In the second group, the non-affirmation group, participants were asked to rank a list of 5 attributes of a toaster in order of importance that they believed an average college student would rank them. Yes, a toaster, as in a machine that turns bread into toasted bread. So if you're in the self-affirmation group, you're weighing the value of art and religion in your life. In the non-affirmation group, you're considering what someone else might like in a toaster. Is it color? Slice capacity? You get the idea. Next, both groups' brains were scanned, and Cresswell and his team saw meaningful differences in brain activity.
Thinking about something personally meaningful to you in an affirmation activity really activates the brain's reward system. Same reward system that turns on during really yummy food or sex. Affirmations seem to turn on this brain reward system as well, really suggesting that these moments of sort of thinking about important personal values really is sort of turning on the brain's reward system.
Personal values for the win. Toasters, on the other hand, did not turn on the brain's reward system. But hey, toasters, don't you go changing. Cresswell's team at the Health and Human Performance Lab did a follow-up study in 2020 that replicated these results. And they're hopeful these findings demonstrate that affirmations could turn down people's stress responses by turning on the brain's reward system.
We're seeing evidence that's consistent with that. And we've got a couple of studies now that show that self-affirmation activities turn on the ventral striatum in the brain, one of the sort of core regions in the brain's reward system. And that over time, turning on that kind of reward circuitry really might matter for sort of promoting stress resilience and health.
So it sounds like basically like thinking good thoughts. The act of just doing that in and of itself is a reward to our brain.
Yeah, I think it's more than just thinking good things, because a lot of our control conditions, we still have people think about things that they like, but they're not really important personal values per se. And we don't see the same type of brain reward response to those. So I really think it's thinking about something that you personally care about deeply. That's what seems to do it in terms of turning on the brain's reward system.
So that could be something like, I am a caring and loving mother and daughter and spouse.
Yeah. And I love playing pickleball. I even think that some of these things that are about personal hobbies or activities that you care about can really turn on the brain's reward system.
I love the idea of, I love playing pickleball as a self-affirmation. Just because I think when we think of self-affirmations, we think of okay, there's a value system, right? It's kind of I'm a good friend, I can do hard things. But I love the idea of being I love pickleball.
Yeah. Is that a good thought or what? Well, at least for some people.
No, was that a good thought in the affirmation sense, or was that just a good thought in general? Was that part of the control?
Well, that's the thing is I think it really depends on the person. So if for me as someone who plays a lot of pickleball and I love it, that is going to turn on the brain's reward system. But for you who may not play pickleball, that's not going to do it.
Got it.
So it really has to be yoked to things that are sort of central to your self-concept, things that you really care about.
So now I feel kind of like a jerk because I was laughing at something that is very important to you as a value system. I'm sorry.
But that speaks to the power of these affirmations, that they're really linked to, features of what are sort of central to your self-concept.
As the old saying goes, one man's affirmation is another one's control variable. Quick recap. Self-affirmations help buffer stress and can make you emotionally and mentally stronger. Keep it personal. Your affirmations must be rooted in values that are very important to you. Start writing. Make a 50 things about me list, starting with I am. Or write a journal entry or letter about what you care about. And don't forget to back up your beliefs with examples. Either you've got the receipts or it never happened. Up next in our second and final class on how to make affirmations work for you, we go a little deeper into the effects of affirmations and when we know they're working. We'll hear more from Natalie Detillo-Ryan and learn how to use affirmations to change your behavior. If you're listening to this the week we released Class 1, then our second class will be out for you next Tuesday. But you can hear it right now and ad-free with a subscription to the Post. If you already have one, great! Just look for the Washington Post channel in Apple Podcasts. If you don't yet have a subscription, you can subscribe to the Washington Post through the link in our show notes or at washingtonpost.com/subscribe. Thanks for listening, and I'll meet you in Class 2.